This is Things You Might Not Have Heard, and I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and in the queue for you today, 8 stories from yesterday that you vetted as conversational. You said they're worthy of talking about, so we're going to talk about them here. Covering information, politics, current events, and pop culture news, we have some Ukraine news, some Greenland news, and Southwest Airlines is not showing the love moving forward. And we'll explain the full vetting process at the end of the headline, so stick around for all 8 of the stories today. But right now, remind you that you can get in on the ground news and the ground news of many things we have going on the Conversation Project at the website. This is theconversationproject.com, including visiting one of our sponsors, Ground News. We also have an email address, which is the conversation inbox at gmail.com. You can email us anytime you need to get the chit chat going so we can discuss anything you want to. Comments, complaints, questions, all answered via email right there. Now, today happens to be Wednesday, March the 12th, 2025, and we have 8 stories, as we said, no particular order as they're being presented, other than the fact that this seems like the best way to actually present the narrative. We'll explain some stories in context, like who got more engagement, and we'll talk about engagement, why that matters, after the headlines when we go into the teaser section, talking about how the stories get picked for the day. So for this day, let's start off with one of the stories that is basically should be the big headline, although other things are kind of getting in the way of this one, that is basically pushing the world forward, other than just sort of the things, the insanity that is Donald Trump changing his mind every single moment here in the States. But this is based on him changing his mind in various moments in states. And Ukraine stepping up to the plate and saying they're going to go along with whatever's happening. Ukraine has said they're open to the 30-day ceasefire with Russia, and the U.S. is restoring its aid and its intelligence sharing so they can keep fighting for the moment. Now, Ukraine agreed to the U.S. proposed 30-day ceasefire in Russia. They're going to aim to halt all forms of fighting, including air and missile attacks. It's emerging from the high-stakes talks in Saudi Arabia involving U.S. officials and Ukrainian representatives. No Russians are at the table as of yet. The response is acceptance of the ceasefire proposal the United States has put out there because of many things they're doing just isn't quite nice ally stuff, including lifting military aid and intelligence sharing while they're in the middle of the war with the Russians, and doing very little to the Russians. In fact, not necessarily talking to them directly, but hoping they'll come to the table when they get some sort of deal. Get the cards ready for Ukraine. Now, Ukraine is looking for the ceasefire so they can actually sit down and work on the actual peace, the actual end of the war. And that's where things will get interesting, as Russia is encouraged to reciprocate with this engagement and the ceasefire for 30 days, giving them 30 days to just sit back and wait and hopefully get something done so they can talk in a month about how the war is over. Now, part of the issue is what the proposal will actually come down to when they start sitting down to do the unwar talk between Kyiv and Kharkiv. The attacks are being launched. Pretty much Russia is bombing them essentially. And the Ukrainians actually launched some really big attack against Russia and the Russian forces that are occupying the space right now, because they're still at war. They're still dropping bombs. They're still trying to get some positioning in the wartime effort, even if there is a word for peace. And while Trump has said that Ukrainian President Zelensky does not really want peace, he just wants to be in charge a little longer, he kind of probably wants to not be in charge the way things are going. Secretary of State Marco Rubio worked the deal in Saudi Arabia to make things happen for this one. So the Ukraine deal has to consider various other things. Of course, once things are signed, we'll worry about those rare earth mineral rights and who's got what land. The biggest issue is who's going to keep how much land for Ukraine. Russia will probably not cede any territory gained in the war effort here, and will definitely not give up Crimea, Crimea, I can't say it this morning, which they annexed many years ago. The first go around, they just rolled it and took over a spot, and they had an election where the Crimeans said that they want to be part of Russia. We guess they did going forward. Now, with that, the European allies also want to step up and take over some stuff, or need to step up and take over stuff, because with Russia being such a threat to just rolling in and taking things over, they need to be there. And the big issue is, will the U.S. actually back them up in the future under a president like Donald Trump? It doesn't look like it's going to be that way. Under future leadership that is Republican/MAGA, we shall see. Right now, the peace deal is on the table. The Ukrainians said they will stick to it if it gets signed. It's up to the Russians to say what they want to do with this one or not. The Greenland elections are focusing on independence and Trump's interest in the island. The recent parliamentary elections have been profoundly influenced by discussions of independence and external geopolitical interest, notably from the United States and President Donald Trump. The elections were held yesterday, March 11th, and it was a big deal for the center-right Democrat Party, led by Jans Frederick Nielsen, emerging victorious with 30% of the vote. The party advocates the gradual approach to independence from Denmark, emphasizing the need for well-founded and economical viable transition. This pro-independence Nigeria party, the pro-independence Nigeria party, secured 24% of the vote, while traditional dominant parties, the Intuit Al-Qitit and the Sunnite, received 22 and 15 respectively. Now, one of the things that is not known about Greenland, I'm riffing for a second here. Greenland is home to not many people, but the majority of the population there is of a native type of folks, and that's just kind of being there. They're essentially the Native Americans of Greenland, Native Greenlanders, if you will, people of yeah, you get what I'm saying. So it's not so much, a bunch of, typical Europeans. They're actually a colonized place taken over by typical Europeans that was basically held by natives from before. And those people had there. Now, with 71% of the turnout of the island, which is a great turnout, engagement was high on this one as people went for what they're going for. Now, the push for the pro-independence coming from the party that has the most votes, this is parliament, so it's actually, you get the most votes, that means you have the bigger chance of being in charge, and then you have to get a government to sort of coalesce with you guys, get enough so you can actually get things voted on, because otherwise the votes will always be split, but 30% will basically go to the victorious party going forward. Now, the U.S. says they need Greenland for security. Greenland is good. They have the rare earth. They have all that stuff going forward. But it's a big thing that President Trump sort of came into, because no other president beforehand was really looking to annex Greenland, and no nation in the last 50 years is looking to take anybody over in any annexation. And other than Russia rolling in to try to take over Ukraine, no one's really just sort of taking land as it goes. The big thing is Greenland, which is not so much green, really covered with ice, is a territory of Denmark, and Denmark essentially runs the show and has the economy going. Greenland would like to have its own officially independent nation, which means pulling away from Denmark in a way and not being bought out by the United States. Why we need a 52nd state, if Canada's going to be 51st, way out there, is, well, it's dumbfounding, to be honest. But the Greenland election is a big deal for around the world, as Greenlanders want to keep their own identity. And we in the States apparently are looking for some rare earth from Greenland, as the ice in Greenland is melting pretty quickly because of global warming. But because of that, you're finding more deposits of minerals and rare earth minerals that can be mined and used for stuff. Trump would like that stuff because it's making a deal and making stuff. And of course, it's good for security being up in the green ice-linked land. So for folks for having bases and having ways to attack if we need to attack, or to be more peaceful, to defend when we need to defend. That's what Greenland's all about. This next story had a wide, very vast amount of responses. The response for this one was about 10 times the next batch of stories, if you will. And I didn't think it was going to go very far, but it was a breaking news story. It was out there, and we're going to blame the internets and just it being on Twitter and Facebook for anyone to see, as opposed to the news nerds specifically going for this one. I think this one just kind of popped up into a big frenzy because we popped it at the right time. This is about former Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte, who was arrested on an ICC warrant. And we'll talk about ICC warrants in a bit while it goes towards Putin and why he don't go nowhere. Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte was arrested on March 11th in Manila's Nimoy Erquillo International Airport upon his return from Hong Kong. The arrest was executed by Interpol agents in coordination with Filipino authorities, acting in a warrant issued by the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity against the anti-drug campaign that Duterte had while he was president from 2016 to 2022. Now, why is this a bad thing? War against drugs, it should be a good thing. But the problem was it was a controversial war, and not so much against drugs, but against the folks who dealt them, which resulted in a lot of escalated gang violence, a lot of shooting, apparently 6,000 fatalities again, and human rights violations all over the place because of as high as 30,000 with that one, just by trying to do things that weren't very nice to either freeze out the people dealing drugs or to just mishandle people who were stuck in the crossfire, literally. Targeting various killers because they thought it was the right thing to do. And in the process, killing and destroying things in the process that weren't meant to be killed or destroyed. Following his arrest, Duterte was promptly extradited to The Hague in the Netherlands, where ICC is headquarters. Development signifies a pivotal moment in international justice, as Duterte becomes the first former Asian head of state to be detained by the ICC. Now, the ICC is the court in The Hague. It's a court where all of the war criminals are basically seen eventually. This is where the Nazis were essentially tried. This is where people who have done other sorts of weird genocide things are tried for the world to see. This is where people like Putin and, oddly enough, Donald Trump have arrest warrants to go to The Hague to deal with that. Now, we don't have an official extradition treaty for sending folks there. That's why many people of varying degrees of, let's just say, shadiness can come here and get away with it. But many other places are working with the ICC, including friendly Philippines, who just knew Duterte was just going back and forth and picked him up on this case here. You can see pictures of him being arrested, sitting on a plane on the way back to The Hague to do whatever. Now, this is a very big deal, and we know it's a big deal, but we didn't expect it to be such a big deal in your comments, in your commentary, in your engagement. This one was a massive one, picking up a lot of stuff, so we had to talk about it. One of the more mundane, boring stories, if you will, but it is what it is because you guys engaged in it, and that's how we work here. Now, ICC also has, as I said, various warrants out there for folks like Vladimir Putin, which is why when he meets with Donald Trump, it's very specific where he goes. They may meet in Saudi Arabia, which also does not have any sort of extradition treaty, any sort of agreement with the ICC. So in pretty much in cases, he goes to Saudi, he's protected by the folks there. That's being both Putin and Trump. Nobody's trying to pick up anybody here from the States in particular because that's asking for trouble. But picking up someone like Vladimir Putin and trying to put him on trial, that would be a pretty big feather in their cap. That would be a Jack Smith level thing, assuming it's done someplace like The Hague and not here in the U.S. Let's talk travel, or the lack of travel, or not so much a lack of travel, but lack of baggage, or not so much lack of baggage, but the growth of baggage fees from Southwest Airlines. That's a very long way to get to the actual story headline, which is Southwest ends free checked bags policy for the first time in 54 years, since essentially the establishment of the actual airline. Their big thing, 2 free checked bags for all passengers. Yeah, that's not happening anymore. A significant shift from the practice that has distinguished itself from airlines for over 50 years. Apply to check bag fees going forward on anything purchased after May 28th. So you want to get something in right now, you've got a couple weeks to get that flight in there and get them free bags. After that, you are not getting check bags. Unless you are an A-list preferred member and you're paying extra for it, then you get 2 free check bags. Business select class also get 2 free check bags. An A-list member, regular A-list, will get 1 free check bag, and everybody else will get 1 free check bag. There's a Southwest credit card holder. That's what's happening. So many things are changing with Southwest because they have to change with the times. All the things that made them the love brand that they were are going away. And it's going to hopefully make money in dividends to come back forward to them. Typical range for a check bag is about $35 for a check bag. So if you get 1 checked, it's good going forward. It's better. But the big deal is they've got to make money. They have to enhance profitability, and rising operational costs means investors want to make more things. So this itself, just checking bags, could generate $1.5 billion additional revenue annually. $1.5 billion a year is great, and it costs the passengers an extra $35 or so going forward. We will see what happens, and so far we're seeing a lot of the love for love not being so great. They've also changed the seating policy to make it from the open seating, hit a button and run and get your seat. In early 2026, it'll be based off some sort of boarding pass, based off some sort of reserved seating, based off some sort of lineup going forward. Not just line up and run, but line up on an actual seat you're going to. All these changes are going to make Southwest more, let's just say, modernized for the public going forward, or more standardized, I'd say, even better going forward. You don't have to like it, but if you're Southwest Airlines flyer, you're going to have to deal with it, or you need to move your miles points to some other actual airline. Quick moment to pause from the news stories. We had 4 done, 4 more to go. We need you to help us engage with the stories and help us get more people to engage in them as we looking for you to like, share, and subscribe to the work we do. Like the video like you're watching right here, and the algorithm will see it as something that's worthy of checking out. The more people like it, the more chances people will get a chance to see it, because the algorithm will push it to more folks, and they'll watch it more. If you know people who like this type of news, this type of humor, type of commentary, share it directly with them. and let them be the judge of it. Maybe they will like and share it as well, getting more people gathered into the News Nerd Nation together. And to be officially in the News Nerd Nation, make sure you get this in your feeds automatically just when it comes down. Subscribe so you don't miss out on a moment when it's there, whether it's something that is a live feed, like this video comes down as a live feed, or just clips of things throughout the places. Make sure you subscribe so you get to us where you want to. And of course, where you want to, go to our website. This is theconversationproject.com, and wherever you want us, we are many places out there. Links to various places to find us, including TikTok and our email newsletter, are there at the website. This is theconversationproject.com. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. Help us grow our News Nerd Nation. The decision is in. The Super Bowl champions, Eagles, will actually go to the White House as they accepted the president's invitation. So let's just call it a boycott, the many sports teams that did not go to the White House during Trump 45. So far, the first shot in Trump 47, the Eagles are going. Now, this is still, it's a team event. It's a PR event, but still event where based on your schedule, you can opt out of it. And of course, some of these guys who are playing right now are currently being traded or looking for new deals to other places. So they won't actually be teammates come the end. They still get the rings, still get all the stuff there, but they won't actually probably travel with the team as a whole because they'll be with another team by the time this thing happens. It's scheduled for April 28th. So this is to celebrate the Eagles' win over the Kansas City Chiefs by a whole bunch of points. The score didn't really matter because the Chiefs came back. But it was literally like fourth string teams by that time. Didn't really matter for anything. Now, the Eagles actually won in 2018, if you remember, and they did not go to the White House before because of the disagreements over national anthem protests. That was the big thing going on, where Donald Trump was basically calling all the people who were kneeling at protests for the national anthem traitors that should be shot or killed or arrested or something like that. So every time a team would say that, Trump would basically rescind the invitation, rescind it from them. This time it's offered. They're going to take it. We're not so much past that, but a lot of the new DEI stuff and diversity complaints and the fact that they did take a lot of the pro-DEI, pro-black verbiage off of the fields and out of things coming into this year, more or less to appease Donald Trump, is there. We do know, we're pretty sure that the big stars will be there. Jalen Hurts will be there in attendance because he's got to show off. But some people can still choose not to come based off their schedules, based off their feelings directly. It looks like most of the team has agreed to basically show up for this one. So look for a big showing, a big smiling, a big thing going forward. And hopefully, unlike when he had the national champions from college back in the day, they're not serving up cheeseburgers. Although cheeseburgers are awesome. We teased this story. We'll talk more about how teasing stories and how stories are in the queue to get to you to talk about here in a bit. But this is a story on Angel Reese, who put out a statement to the WNBA on contracts. The big star, the last year rookie, in contention for Rookie of the Year, of course, lost to Caitlin Clark, voicing strong concerns regarding the compensation and the negotiations for the new collective bargaining agreement. Essentially, the league, they are in the WNBA and the NBA have issues. Reese is making $75,000 annually with the Chicago Sky, and she also has been known to talk about how that $75,000 annually doesn't pay her bills. Now, in all fairness, the average salary for a regular person around here in the United States is $50,000, and that's great. But if the boys in the game are getting millions of dollars just to sit on the bench, and she's a star and she's only getting $75,000 based off what's going on, there might be some disparity issues going on. There also are issues in revenue being made by the teams, which is a real concern. But the frustration Reese put out there indicates that the players are prepared to take significant actions and potential strikes if demands aren't met. She won't play, and the CBA being worked out right now, maybe more folks will actually come up to a strike, which would be totally terrible as the women's game and the WNBA is gaining great prominence with people watching. The problem is the ladies can't make the same money the men do, which is why we have issues like Brittany Griner going to Russia to play and then getting arrested for having cannabis in her bag, which we have issues like that. The women have to go and play in 3 or 4 different leagues across the world to make up the money going forward, because other nations will throw money at American players to play some for a bit, while the nation here, while it's great basketball, great entertainment, great sports, can't make the money because the money, to be honest, from a business standpoint, is not really there. It just isn't. So, we will see what's happening. Of course, she was injured during an unrivaled league game, when the new three-player leagues out there for women to try to make some extra money here in the States. And because of that, it intensifies sort of the thought process of, I'm fragile. I have issues. We all have issues, and we cannot be playing this game sooner or later. If these other guys, literally guys, make all this money, big money, and their talent may be questioned or whatever, just to sit on the bench and ride the pine for a little bit, how come we aren't making greater compensation? That's a good question. And we'll find answers to that one going forward. So a word from Caitlin Clark, her rival and her, I guess, your frenemy at this point on the situation. She basically said the same thing, that the compensation comparison between the NBA and WNBA salaries are unfair, but acknowledged that it's necessary for the WNBA's growth and player to improve compensation to basically get to at level there. We'll see what happens with negotiations at the CBA for this league is going up. I believe the deal is up next season, so there might be talks throughout the upcoming season about strikes and things going on. Angel Reese has put out the first salvo saying she has issues. We'll see what goes on going forward. The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives are back, baby. Reality TV for Mormons, I guess, is back for a second season. The reality show will be back on the air on May 15th. It's going to be exclusively on Hulu. The show continues to delve into the lives of Utah-based TikTok influencers, collectively known as Mom Talk, as they navigate personal and communal challenges. Now, this is a bit of a swerve, a misnomer. You would think for a show like The Secret Lives of No Mormon Wives, they're really, although Real Housewives aren't real housewives either, it would be about what actual Mormons do. What it really is about influencers doing the TikTok and, that do whatever, that sort of promote the Mormon lifestyle and try to sell people on what's going on. Now, there's a whole bunch of things that get wrapped up in the Mormon lifestyle. There's the multiple wives things that really isn't a thing anymore. There's the fact that Mormons can't have like caffeine, which is interesting. I have a good friend I work with who is Mormon, and while we all drink coffee in the morning at the radio station, he sat there and kind of looked at us funny. He can't do caffeine, can't eat chocolate because he's Mormon. It's what's there. Now, cast members are going to be all over the place doing their things, including a big storyline coming up about the journeys of pregnancy and motherhood through Jen Affleck, Macy Neely, and Michaela Matthews, who are all expecting children while filming's going on. And of course, throwing glasses of water at each other because they can't drink alcohol, and flipping tables of milk, I guess. I don't know. The first season was a hit for some reason, and Hulu is bringing it back because it's their most watched unscripted debut of the year last year. 20-episode seasons on the way. As I said, if you're into reality TV shows or just Mormons in general, your fix is in. Finally, we have a story of a true American, a true crime fighter, a true person who's letting people know about the dangers, about the illegalities, about how hard it is to be a kid these days with parents who just aren't doing well. The headline for the story: 4-year-old Wisconsin boy calls cops on mom for eating his ice cream, gets Frosty surprise. In Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin, a 4-year-old boy dialed 911 to report a pressing concern. His mother had eaten his ice cream. The child informed the dispatcher, "My mommy is being bad," and requested, "Come and get my mommy." His mother clarified to the dispatcher, "Yes, I ate his ice cream, so that's probably why he's calling 911. Officers from the Village of Mount Pleasant Police Department responded to the call to ensure that there were no underlying issues. They talked to the boy to make sure he wasn't talking in code, he wasn't trying to talk or whatever. There was not any issue. It was just a 4-year-old getting a little bit uppity and decided that he was going to call his mom for being bad and eating the ice cream that he was supposed to have. The boy expressed that he no longer wished for his mother to face any consequences, but still desired some ice cream when it was all said and done. The next day, officers returned to the family's residence and brought the child ice cream with sprinkles, which was exactly what he wanted. He just wanted his ice cream. A good story, a heartwarming story, a happy story to end on this Wednesday edition of the news part for the Conversation Project's things you might not have heard. Now let's go to the teaser section. We transitioned out of the stories that were done for yesterday. Let's talk today. These are news stories that we're going to talk about and how you can get your story that you like or dislike into the headlines, into the conversation, into things you might have heard for Thursday. We have feeds, what we call feeds. They are our links on Facebook and X. Our pages on those platforms are social media pages. Go to those spots and see what stories we're posting and engage in them. We post news articles every 50 minutes, more or less, to do our best to keep them spread out there and get about 30 or so in within a day's worth of time. If you see a headline when you're checking us out or checking out your own feed, and we pop up there in your feed because the algorithm, look at the stories and engage in them and tell us know if they're worthy of talking about. Like them, love them, hate them, share them, review them, reply to them, respond to them, share them many, many times. And the higher an engagement score gets, the better chance to talk about it. We talked about the story about the former president of the Philippines because it got so much attention, whether from you guys as news nerds or just the internet, just seeing it going back and forth. It had to be talked about. We can talk about this story as well because we did not do a real big Trump story today. We didn't do the Musk and the cyber trucks and the showroom in the White House. We didn't do the fact that Musk is going to spend an extra $100 million towards a campaign. We didn't do those things today because we're kind of burnt on them. But this is one where Trump is directly involved because we're teasing a story on the EU announcing 26 billion euros worth of countermeasures to Trump's steel tariffs. We did not also talk about the actual tariffs that went into effect, I guess, this morning, going towards Canada on steel as Canada decided to put tariffs on us for energy. It's going to get ugly faster than you think, folks. Even though there's flip-flopping and there's bargaining chips, eventually it's going to cost us some money, and we're going to see what happens going forward. But in this case, you want to talk about the EU slapping tariffs on us for tariffs we slap on them, you just go to your feeds and see if we're worthy of talking about and engage them. Like them, love them, hate them, share them on Facebook and X. Now, yesterday we teased Angel Reese and her threat to the WNBA saying, you know what, we might not play. We talked about it. You guys engaged in that one fairly heavy as well, so we talked about it. What stories do we talk about every single day in this thing here? It literally is up to you. We'll get to explain that in just a bit going forward. But go to our feeds on Facebook and X. Facebook.com/This Is Conversation Project, X.com/TH_conversation. I may have missed that part. And as we post stories every 50 minutes, engage. Our sponsor for today is Flowers Fast, and you want to keep this link in your pocket. This is an affiliate link, so we get a small commission for you using their service. But Flowers Fast offers flowers to you fast. They use the FTD floral service, offering you great deals on bouquets and snacks and packages that you can, get to folks fairly quickly. If they're flowers and you make an order in the morning, they'll ring up the local florist at FTD and they'll deliver to them directly right there. If they are one of the chocolate things or the other packages, it'll take a little bit more long. It'll take a little bit longer, maybe a day or so for FedEx. But you can get your flowers or get your gifts fast. They have great flowers. They have great edible gifts like chocolate covered strawberries and cookies and the Oreos that are covered with stuff. And, your always favorite smoked summer sausage. Meat is always great. But if you're in a pinch, you got to get a gift to someone in a last minute effort, or you've actually messed something up and need to get a gift to someone right now to fix something. Flowers Fast is a great way to get them to you as they offer same-day flowers delivery for you via FTD around the world. So check it out at our website, thisisconversationproject.com/flowersfast. That's our link for affiliates. We get a small commission. So if it's birthday, anniversary, or just to brighten someone's day, beautiful bouquets, elegant arrangements, and other things to add on to the actual thing with same-day delivery options in most cases. This is conversationproject.com/flowersfast. Get those flowers to you fast, or hold on to that actual website and use it in case you're in a pinch for needing flowers pretty fast. Today I have the slide in the right group, so we're not going to get thrown off. We're still running long, so I apologize for that. But the Conversation Project lives online at thisisconversationproject.com. Your voice will get a share in shaping the news that we talk about and talk about in general, because I just go through aggregators all day long and put out stories for you to see, and you tell me what stories are worthy of talking about. If we get the wrong stories or something seems a little off, email me, the conversation inbox at gmail.com, and we'll try a way to figure out what went wrong, what didn't go wrong, or I can explain, hey, yeah, I know this story was really engaging, but I thought this one was more important. I can do that as well. You do that, it's pretty easy, pretty simple going forward. Now, follow us on our feeds on Facebook and X, which is the most important thing you can do. Consider going to our website and seeing more sponsors or becoming a partner there. And, of course, you can see more episodes, past episodes of how we do things in our progression, in some case regression, at the Conversation Project. Check it out at the website, This It's conversationproject.com. And that's it for your Wednesday, March the 12th, 2025. I am Jay Cleveland Payne. Thank you so much for being a part of what we do here. We cannot do this literally without you because you pick the stories, you make it interesting. My unique prospect is the fact that you guys pick the stories for us to get into. Oh, I might have said that part. So we get 30 stories in a day. We'll take the top half of stories for your engagement and pick 8 of those. I think I missed that before. So that's how we pick those stories specifically. So we'll have that taken care of. So you engage in the stories. We'll do our best to pick the ones that work out the best for the narrative. That's it. Also, love you. Mean it so much. Remember to stay hydrated, stay limber, stay on task for all the grand things you are meant to do in this world. Life is a marathon. Do not make it a sprint. That's it. A lot of ums, a lot of ahs, a lot of slowness today. So we'll probably do some deep dives when we listen to the air check on this one and have a little bit to talk about to these partners, because we do extra videos and partnership stuff, telling people how we're working to improve stuff. This one may get a real deep dive into what's going on because it's gone longer and I don't know why. So we have to learn about that one. In the meantime, let's not go much longer. We're done. We'll see you again tomorrow with another edition of Things You Might Not Have Heard.